All right, we are down to the last command that we need to add into the command system, and that is rename. Now, it's really straightforward as long as you stop and think about all of the checks that need to be in place. First, we're going to need to verify that we have 3 elements in the array. The first element is going to be the rename command. The second element needs to be a node that exists. This is the node you want to rename. Now notice how I said node, not transform node, because you could be renaming a transform node or you could be renaming a shape node. And the third element needs to be the name of a node that does not exist anywhere in your scene. So once we have verified that we have a valid object to rename and that the name we're wanting to rename it to does not exist anywhere in the scene, then we'll simply do the renaming by setting the node's name to arguments 2. Okay? So that's all we're looking to do. Let's go ahead and do it.
All right. So last command is a new item. It's a new command based on the template called command rename. And there we go. All right. First thing, number of arguments. If the argument's length is equal to 3, then we're in business. Otherwise, we have an error.
You must specify.
You must specify
The old name and the new name. Simple enough. All right. Now let's go ahead and jump up. The next thing we need to do is hold a reference, a node reference, to argument sub 1, whatever we find.
Right, because we need to get back to it and possibly rename it if things go as planned.
Exactly.
So we need a node reference. Now, this isn't a transform node, because like you just said, we could also rename shape nodes.
That's right.
So the way we need to refer to this is just simply as a node. We'll still call the actual reference node, though.
That's right, because think about it. Both a transform node and a shape node are both nodes. They're both descendants of the node class.
Right. So we can say this is equal to transform node dot find. We're looking for arguments sub 1. And we're not casting. Why? Because we're looking for just nodes.
That's right.
And that's what find actually returns, is a node.
Okay. So now let's just go ahead and make sure that it is not null.
So if node does not equal null, then that's good.
Otherwise, we can go ahead and set an output on that.
Yeah, we can go ahead and code in the else, even though it'll kind of count as a syntax error for the time being, but that's okay. I haven't specified anything under the if yet. But this is
could not find the specified node.
Could not find the specified node. And then we'll probably want to say what node that was.
Argument sub 1.
So arguments 1 was not found. All right, otherwise, if node was not null and we could do something,
okay,
what is it that we want to do?
Go ahead and block this in real quick.
So we want to specify up above?
No, as inside that if. So if it's not null.
Oh, the additional check.
That's right, because we've got one more to do. I wasn't sure why you didn't do that a second ago. Go ahead and block that in.
So we need the block since we don't want the else to go against the end of the check.
That's right. Now we need to check arguments 2. We need to make sure that that is not found anywhere.
Right. We need to do a check. Now, we don't need a reference to it because it's not supposed to exist.
That's right.
So we don't need any further reference, and instead we can just directly go and look at transform nodes find for arguments 2, so the new name, more or less, and make sure that arguments 2, or the result of the find for arguments 2, is equal to null.
That's right.
Because if it's equal to null, then we're good. Arguments 2 doesn't exist yet, so in essence the name is open to be set.
Which means, let's go ahead and set it. So node, where we're holding a reference to our old item, the item we want to rename, dot name, is equal to argument sub 2. And that just took care of our renaming. Else, we need to go ahead and output that the target name already exists.
So the target name already exists.
Okay.
We could even show it. I mean, I know that wasn't in the plan for this one, but it could do something like this. Arguments sub 2.
Yep.
And
looking through it, everything looks good. I mean, that's pretty much all we need to do. I mean, it's real simple. Make sure that the node we're wanting to rename exists and the name we want to rename it to does not exist, and then rename it.
So we should be able to register this
That's
command
right.
now. And I have so many documents open that I need to go over to the Solution Explorer to find it, but there we go. We can now add in the final command, rename. Rename with the letters in order and correct.
Okay.
Bound to the text, rename. So we should be able to build. Everything has succeeded, so we can run.
All right, so let's go ahead and rename sphere to ball.
Rename sphere to ball.
And let's list that out. Ooh, very nice. Let's try renaming the sphere shape node to ball shape.
So rename sphere, shape, ball, shape.
And list that out.
So it works on both transform and shape nodes.
Fantastic. So let's rename the group.
So rename group.
And pick a name for it.
Root.
Sounds good. Ooh, fantastic. Looking good. All right, let's go ahead and do some error checking now. So just just rename by itself.
Rename. You must specify the old name and the new name. Okay. Rename ball. So rename ball.
Same thing.
We don't have a new name yet. Rename ball. Now let's try to rename it to something that exists, like root. The target name already exists. Root.
Perfect. All right, let's see. What else can we do? How about rename a cat to root?
Cat, root. Well, cat doesn't exist in the first place. So even if we try to rename cat to cat
it doesn't matter.
Cat simply isn't found, so we don't go any further.
All right, fantastic. So we are now able to simply rename nodes, both transform nodes and shape nodes, and all of our verifications are holding up well. Anything you want to add to that, Logan?
Nothing I can think of.
All right, cool. Well, that's going to wrap up all of the commands that we asked for in the command system for the command line interface. So as you can see, by creating an object-oriented command line system, it was really easy to go in there and add commands, especially after we created that command template. I mean, that just made it a breeze because a lot of our typing was already done for us. And if you think about the whole overall structure of this, since the DAG engine was set up in such a way that it really does facilitate simple commands to do pretty much anything you want inside the engine, making the commands was a breeze.
Right, all of the actions were very straightforward to invoke. The only thing that took any kind of coding or patience was the fact that we now need to actually make a human interface. We need to make sure that error checking is in place, and that's really been the bulk of the code for all of these commands.
And of course, our error checking has been a bit on the relaxed side here, but again, the idea was just to focus on how to go about creating an object-oriented command system, and you guys can go in there and make the error checking just a little bit more sophisticated. So with that is going to bring us to the end of this knowledge review. I hope you got a lot out of it. It was a fantastic project. You already had pretty much everything you needed to create it. It was just your time to start thinking logically. This was a big application, and it required you to sit down and plan it on paper first. But if you were able to work your way through it, that's fantastic, and I'm sure a very warm and fuzzy feeling inside. And if you were not, that's okay. Don't give up. Stick with this stuff. For some people, it's just a little bit more difficult to grasp concepts that are, well, larger than your simple Hello World apps or your really small programs. It's okay. It just may take a little bit of time. Just stay with the game. Don't give it up, okay? With that, we're going to come back with a second part in the next video of the Knowledge Review. That's right, a second part of Knowledge Review 7 that has yet another challenge. So we'll see you in the next video. Thanks a lot.